Hello and welcome to this month's drawing tutorial. This month we're going to draw this young man who has high contrasts on his face and overall is a fairly low value portrait. You can see my grid is laid out and then a corresponding grid on my drawing paper. Start the drawing by developing the outermost points. So the bottom of the chin, the top of the head, and each side of the face. So here I'll just give myself some rough guidelines for those marks. Here's the side of the face. The eye is about a C here. The bottom of the chin, E and 2.5, right about here. The ear is going to be about here. See how I draw with hash marks, and then I'll connect those with some sketchy lines that will be easy to erase. But here's the largest shape already done. I can also do some work on the shoulders and get that neck in place as well. And then I'm also going to put in this window. I'll just sketch in the window for now and sharpen that up with my ruler later. Now once that head is in place, draw a guideline for the eyes. It should be right in the middle of the head, except he's looking down, so it's going to be right on under the C point. And a guideline for the nose. That lines up with the 3. And the bottom of the nose, corner of the mouth here. Then I'll also do the bottom of the hairline right under the B point and sort of eyeball that widow's peak. Okay, now I have the large features roughly in place, so then I can go back and use my paper measuring system to develop those a little bit more accurately. So get a piece of paper, put it down on your reference material and mark off the length of one eye. Then you use the eye length to mark the placement of the rest of your features. So measuring one eye length down from the bottom of the eye is roughly the middle of the nostril, and the eyes, because he's not looking straight ahead at the viewer, one eye length from the corner of this eye is going to be the middle of the side, the smaller eye. So I'll just estimate the eye length on my picture first of all. So I'll mark this down as my eye length, and then I know it's supposed to be about 2 to the edge of the face. So that's looking pretty accurate. So from the bottom of the eye, using that eye length, this should be about the middle of the nose, about right here. Then the nostril lines up with the corner of the eyes, roughly about like this. Okay? So now I'm just going to start sketching in these rough features. And the more guidelines you can give yourself, the better, especially to begin with, because it's easy to get lost when the face is down and at an angle and sort of twisted like this one. I'm also going to start sketching out the shape of the shadows, because in this portrait they're so important to the overall appearance of the face. So let me just take this off camera for a little bit and get my portrait pushed forward so that the lines are nice and neat. And I'll come back to you when those lines are good enough so that we can start shading. When you have the features in place, go ahead and erase those guidelines. If you want to straighten up those lines of the window, go ahead and do that using a straight edge. Okay, now we're going to start putting the tone down. So when you have a picture like this with the strong shadow shapes, make sure that you preserve your highlights really carefully. Those are already preserved for me with the lines here. I'm going to erase those lines so that they're not showing up as lines, making my man look like he's wearing a freaky mask. And then I'm just going to add some tone, working from the top down, using my charcoal pencil on the side. And since I am using charcoal, that tone is going to go down nice and fast. To make it even faster, I'll use this other type of charcoal pencil that you peel down, because then I can have a large piece of charcoal visible. So in this stage, I am not shading the figure, I'm creating a base tone. See, I'm using back and forth strokes that will be easy to disguise. And then here under the eyebrow, I'm going to come to my first highlight. So I'll preserve that and then go right into the eyelid. I'll just tip the pencil up a little bit and see how I preserve this highlight shape. Notice how I'm following the face's contours as I lay this tone down. And I'm staying in one consistent direction, not scribbling all over the place. I'm going to go right over the chin line and into the neck. This is the light coming from the window, so the areas of the face and skin and shirt closest to the window are obviously going to be light struck, and then the contours that face away from the light are going to be in deep shadow. So here under the chin there's a deep shadow, the bottom lip is in deep shadow, and under the nose. Okay, so I'm going to go in now and I'm going to use a large, this is a number 5 stomp. And as I work, I want to protect the rest of the paper from smearing. So I'm going to put down a clean piece of paper and work from the top down so that you don't smear as you go down. And I'm just going to use circle strokes with this tortillon and develop the shape of the hair a little bit better. Blend in the direction of the hair growth. So it's going over like this. And I'll flip this to the other side to get a clean edge for when I'm working in the highlight side of the face. And then back to the dirty side of the stomp to fill in the shadow on the face. And for the face, I am going to blend with smooth circle strokes. And when you have large areas to fill, you don't need to use as much care, so you can go a little bit faster. And then when you're working in small areas like the upper eyelid, move to the point and move more slowly and carefully. Now also for the face, what works well is a chamois cloth that you can just wrap around your finger and smooth much more quickly. But it does pick up a lot of the charcoal. So it does mean that you're going to need a second pass, but look at how smooth the tone is. But it gets really smeared out, so now I'm going to have to go in a second time and redefine some of those lines, pick them out carefully, and do the same sort of work that I did the first time to bring those shadow shapes back out again. So now I can fill this tone in a second time using those circle strokes once again. Now after all of this tone is filled in the second time, and let's just pretend that it is for now, I'm going to go in a second time and blend, this time strictly with the stomp or tortillon, because I'm not developing such a large area. See how I just use small controlled circle strokes and I maintain the edges of my shadow shapes and highlights. So I'm maintaining a clear contrast that will read as a line to the eye, but I'm not outlining anything. Remember, no lines exist on the face. And if you draw a face in terms of lines instead of the shape of the shadows and highlights that develop a form, then you're going to wind up with artificial looking masks. Okay, so let me go off camera now and finish up this stage of just darkening up these shadows, and then I'll come back to you when it's time to pull out some more details and add some background tone. Once you've blended your tones, sharpen your contrasts. I'm going to do that by both strengthening the darks and pulling out sharper highlights with a kneaded eraser. With a kneaded eraser, flatten it into a blade like this, and then go back right along the edge of the sharpest highlight shapes. Pick out that line of division. You can both wipe, and then when you want to lighten the area, you can blot like this. So here on the nostril, after I've brought out the edge of highlight, I'm going to go back with my stomp and soften it up because it doesn't need to be quite as bright as I made it. So this is how you clean up the picture at this stage. Just bringing up some of those tones, making them a little bit brighter, and softening out others. And going down to the shirt, I've already added some tone, and then I have to blend it the same way that I did on the face. After blending the first time, I'm going to go back with my charcoal pencil and use circle strokes with the pencil like this to develop an even darker tone. Also in the face, I'm going to have to go back and darken up some of the features. You can see how quickly I can do that with the charcoal pencil, and add a little bit of darkness under the eyelid to make it look like he's looking down, not just leaning forward, asleep or dead. I'll darken up the eyebrows a little bit like this with some more strokes. And the hair the same way. And I'm still adding those strokes in the direction of the hair growth. So that's just going to take a little bit of time, and I can do that off camera. But while I've got you here, let me show you also how to finish up the background. I can tape the outer corners of the picture if I want. Make sure that you stick your tape down to something first so that it doesn't tear the paper when you bring it up. And then I'm going to add the tone right over the top of that tape, filling in right over the hair so that it looks continuous, like the man is in front of the background versus sculpted around the background. When you get to the shirt, choke up so you can have some more control and make that shirt collar nice and distinct. And even over on this side, I still have more tone. I'm just going to get it down like this, going in the same direction as the rest of the background. And if I want to keep that window really distinct, protect it with the tape like this. That's going to really add to the realism because I can go all the way up to the tape and it's going to be a nice, clean, precise line when I bring that up. Then use your stomp or tortillon and blend right across those tones. Make that smooth. Protect the face with a clean piece of paper and darken up anything that needs to be darker. Then I can make these different shades of gray by simply pressing harder or more lightly with my stomp. Then I'll work the same way to shade the rest of the background. And again, clean up any messy lines as you need as you go along. I'll tilt the paper to make it easier to put that tone down evenly, and choke up so you have more control when you get to the side of the face. Blend it while the tape is still in place. Then when you pull the tape up, look at that. It looks so nice. No one will believe that it is drawn. It would look like a photograph. Now I need to do some finishing work in his face, just darkening up the tones. But you've already seen how I do that. I just use the pencil on the side, fill in tone with circle strokes. It might be worth your while to get a variety of different charcoal pencils. This has been done in medium softness, so that would be about a 2B. I might want to punch it up to a 6B for these really dark areas and see what a difference that makes already. So let me do this work off camera for a little bit, and I'll come back to you so you can see what it looks like after putting some time in. And I think that this is a finished piece. So there's the top, you've seen the bottom. The really strong light and darks are explained by the presence of the light behind him. So I think that it finished as a strong piece. This is going to be a good one for giving you practice seeing the shapes of shadows and highlights because they're very distinct in this piece. And it will give you good practice blending large areas of dark tone. So I'm turning it over to you at this time. I hope that you've learned some things you can use while you work up your own drawings and low value contrasts in your own studio. Thanks so much for watching.